You're watching Oilers Nation Everyday with Tyler Yaremchuk. Your one-stop shop for all things Oilers.
Hockey season starts today. Doesn't actually start till tomorrow.
I was going to say it.
But it feels like hockey season starts today.
Rosters have been made.
We're back to 5 days a week. This is the official kickoff of season 3 of Oilers Nation Everyday.
Oh, I thought it was.
Everyone send us congratulations posts. Remember when we said that last month?
Oh, yeah.
Come on, EST guys.
I actually think it might be today.
It is.
3 years today we started the show.
It was actually, no, I got the notification for it. It was Saturday.
The 5th.
The 5th. Yeah, I think it was the 5th was the official. But anyways, we're back. We got renewed for season 3 of the show. And by renewed, I told Jay, hey, I'm still doing the show. And he was like, yeah, you are. That's what we pay you to do.
I was going to say, if we get canceled, it'll be not for anything bad, just in general for the show. It'll be January 1st. That's when our contracts go back again.
So if you guys are nervous about the show existing year over year,
you got
contracts re-up Jan 1. So
we're good. We're good for now.
If we're not on the air Jan 2, something's gone a little wonky. Welcome into the show. Like I said, official season 3 kickoff. And you know what it's been for 3 straight years? It's been coming to you live from the Sports Closet studio.
That is true.
One of our loyal local partners.
Local.
We love working with local companies.
We have a few. We've listed them before, but
we have
Star. Well, I one, but I would say Sports Closet.
Sports Closet
is the most consistent of them all.
They are. They've been sponsors of the Sports Closet studio since day one, and we love them for that. All of your fan apparel needs, Sports Closet's got them.
Yeah.
It's my birthday in 8 days. Don't forget, please. If you're looking for a gift, go to Sports Closet. They'll have something I like. Just throwing that out there.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind.
Stephon Diggs, Houston, Texas.
That's a low blow.
Oh, do you know what we do need to do, since it's the second official start to season 3, because we've been calling it season 3 since day 1 of training camp.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what we've
like on the podcast. We've been,
yeah.
Sorry.
All good. Whatevs. We have to set a light goal, and to set a tone on the season, I'm gonna let you do it.
So I got to set a light goal to kick off season 3
for the day.
The light goal is 3 because it's season 3.
Oh my goodness. Well, we're already at 10.
103. There we go.
133.
Yep.
There you go. Is the light goal today?
Ooh, someone got claimed on waivers.
Whoa, no way.
Two guys got claimed on waivers.
Kyle said no one got claimed.
Dun, dun, dun. Anaheim has claimed James Reimer.
Oh, good call. He's a good goalie. I'm actually. Where was he? Buffalo?
Yep.
So did they
Vegas claimed Lavoie.
No way. Well, that'll put a dampener on the show. Oh, well.
Oh, boy.
That'll do.
Raphael Lavoie. We got breaking news on Oilers Nation every day. The Vegas Golden Knights have claimed now former Oiler Raphael Lavoie. This is the 3rd time, I believe, in his career, the Oilers have tried to sneak Lavoie through the waiver wire, and this is, well, obviously the first time that it hasn't worked. Lavoie was the 38th overall pick in the 2019 NHL entry draft. Vegas dealing with a little bit of injuries. They lost some players year over year as well. And in division, the Golden Knights go and grab Raph Lavoie. You can take a peek here. Listen, if there's ever a time to sneak a guy through waivers, it is the day the Oilers did it on, because everybody's dumping onto the waiver wire. Everyone's trying to trim their rosters, not usually looking to add pieces. But you look at Lavoie, 28 goals in 66 American League games, has never really gotten much of an opportunity with the Oilers at the NHL level. It is obviously disappointing to lose him for nothing.
Totally.
I am, though, surprised that he got claimed, because it feels like every organization has Raph Lavoie, including Vegas. Like, you look at their forward group, the right side is Olofsson, Stone, Nicholas Roy, or
who's more of a center.
Who's more of a center. And then I guess Zach Aston Reese, who they'd put on waivers. So, wow.
Yeah, I think Vegas needed more goals in the bottom 6. Obviously, Thomas Hurdle's there, who's a great player, don't get me wrong, but like adding the potential of what Lavoie can kind of bring to maybe a third line one day in the NHL is a good claim. I'm a bit disappointed, to be honest.
Yeah, I am too.
Like over this summer, we lost Holloway, Lavoie, and Broberg, who were our 3 best prospects.
Yeah, no,
and like Borgo too, I suppose, who wasn't one of the best, but still a first round.
But if I would have told you a year ago today that all 4 of Broberg, Holloway, Lavoie, and Borgo would not be in the organization, and all they have to show for it is 3 draft picks and Ruby Jarventi.
Oh, and Fisher. Don't forget Fisher.
Oh yeah, the defenseman.
I can't remember his first name.
Paul, maybe.
Maybe that's bad of us. Is it Paul Fisher?
I think it's Paul.
Is it Paul, Aaron?
I think it was Paul.
Okay, phew. You could have told me any name. I would have believed you.
And you could have told me I was wrong, and I would have been like, well, I just threw Paul out there blindly.
It might be Paul. Cole Schmidt, too. I believe he was Calgary Flames.
Yeah, I think they were trying to sneak him through. What's interesting then would be
Cole Schmidt. Interesting.
Schwint. Not Schmidt.
W.
That's a W.
He was a Wrangler?
He was a Wrangler, Liam.
Dated a TikToker.
Who did he date?
What?
Oh my God. Liam. We said our year 3 resolution was less horny.
I never said that. Oh. It's nothing like though.
Could be a mistake. Allegedly.
The fact it's Vegas is what rattles my cage. That rattles and hurts even more.
In division.
Like St. Louis pissed me off, but I mean, they're not a direct rival.
Yeah.
God forbid we have to play Raph Lavoie in the playoffs.
Can I just throw this out there right off the jump? Lavoie will be back on waivers at some point this year.
I was gonna say we'll get a real test of what we missed out on.
Yeah.
I do wish they would have given him more of a chance here, though.
Well, it's just the idea of, and again, Noah Philp goes down. We'll talk about that in a little bit too, but
yeah,
that one at least makes sense because it's like, no. Like, he didn't play last year. Go give him 15 games of 20 minutes a night and whatever. With Lavoie, it's like, it just goes back to signing Corey Perry. It's fine. Good veteran. Everyone, liked, and I liked that he was standing up for Connor in the preseason game.
Yeah.
That was good. But there's upside with Lavoie. There is no upside with a Corey Perry. And I do wish for the numbers Lavoie's put up the last couple of years in the American League and the raw talent and tools he has, like, you can't teach someone to be 6'4", 215 pounds. Can't teach someone to shoot the puck the way he can, really.
Do you know what? Wise Kyle made a good point. Maybe the Oilers just claim him back. I mean, could totally see that happening.
Absolutely.
Zach Aston Reese was claimed by
Columbus.
Columbus.
So they had an open spot.
Yeah. It's interesting. Like, I wonder, maybe you'll know this, Tyler.
Mm-hmm.
When do teams know guys get claimed? Like, do they come in like one at a time? They must, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some communication too. Like, Don Waddell probably called. Who's the GM
wow.
Kelly McCrimmon being like, hey, like, we're going to claim Zach Aston Reese.
Yeah,
maybe all that happens.
Yeah, there might be a little like, I'll help you out in case you want to go on the waiver wire and claim something. Like,
yeah, when they're on there, like that 24 hours, just like call a GM, have the courtesy.
Be like, hey, yeah, there might be a courtesy thing like that. Everyone else clears. Interesting.
I'm
surprised Peltier didn't. I thought someone would take a chance on Peltier. Like, if you're taking a chance on Lavoie, I know his American League numbers are better than Peltier, so there is that too. And Peltier is undersized, so maybe you don't view him as being a massive upside kind of play, but
a little bit younger than Lavoie. No, isn't Lavoie 24 now?
Lavoie's going to score his first career NHL goal in a Vegas jersey.
Maybe not.
Maybe not. I guess you never know, but
Peltier's played 37 games in the NHL and has 10 points, 4 goals.
Like, that's not nothing.
Lavoie's played 7. Both left shots. The only difference is Peltier's 5'9". Lavoie's what, 6'2"?
6'4".
6'4".
Yeah.
I don't like this. I don't like this at all. Like, it's not a huge deal, don't get me wrong, but like with the lineup decisions we're gonna talk about today too, like I don't know. That left side could have used a 6'4" shot. I mean, hey, not discredit Podkolzin. Other guys on there, but like Lavoie had some potential.
Yeah, he did. Okay. That's disappointing.
Well, there goes all my prep.
You were prepped?
I've got a few notes.
Okay, well, on that note, then I guess we have a lot to get to today. As you can see on the all-new bottom topic bar.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh. Also,
Wow.
put up the Lavoie graphic again. New background.
And we're on the right side.
And we're on the right side. So we've made a couple of new changes, freshening up the show. We're moving to a new studio soon-ish here. It's going to be good. This is all going to look very sharp when we're in our new studio.
We're up. We're getting up.
Yeah, we up.
We up.
Let's get into what's trending for our friends at Sherwood Power Sports and Marine, because we're going to get to Carter Hutton in a bit, and then we're going to get to Anthony DeMarco in a little bit as well. And we'll talk about those guys in a second. But what's trending for our friends at Sherwood Power Sports and Marine, your one-stop shop for everything you need, from fishing rods and reels, tackle and boat accessories, to motorcycle gear, water sports accessories, and even e-bikes, which I love, and e-scooters, which I also love. Find out more at Sherwood Power Sports and Marine. Okay, we obviously, Lavoie is trending. It is disappointing. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on. Over the weekend, we got the breaking news that Jeremy Swayman signed in Boston, 8x8.25. So they did the classic thing where the Bruins said 8x8, and Swayman said 8.5. And after months of feverishly negotiating, they said, let's meet in the middle. And then the deal gets done. You kind of got the sense that this is the way it was going to go, as nasty and dirty as it got for kind of a week. Pause. You're not going to open the season if you're the Bruins after spending all the money you did in the offseason with enough cap space, mind you, to get this deal done. You weren't just going to open the season with $8.5 million in cap space and be like, Korpisalo's our guy. Like, you were going to lock this up, important part of their future, and now this drama's presumably behind them.
Yeah, it got messy, like you said, like kind of in pretty intense in moments, like just very strange. Like, I don't recall a negotiation like this. Like, I know we had the Nylander one, not this past one, but the one before, coming out of his ELC, I think it was, and like he didn't play until like 10 games into the season or whatever it was, right? Maybe even a little bit longer. So surprising it took so long, but Frank did say on the rundown when they did their Atlantic Division preview that like this will get done by opening night, or at worst like game 2. Yeah. So not that surprising, I guess, if you listen to that show, which you should. It's very good. To hear the news that we heard over the weekend. 8.25, I think probably fair. 25-year-old goalie. He's good numbers throughout his career. And like, yeah, he hasn't shown he's the workhorse, quote unquote, but I think we all know he probably is. Right?
I think he'll be able to handle it just fine.
Totally.
And they went and got Lindholm, or they have Lindholm on the blue, or signed up front. They also have a Lindholm on the blue line. They signed Zadorov too. So like all that stuff. He'll be fine there. He can handle 55 starts a season. Also with Korpisalo can take 30. So maybe he only has to play 50.
That's the thing. Korpisalo is good. We've seen what
he's an NHL goalie. Yeah.
He was pretty good for LA when he was played for them. And that 1 year for Columbus, they beat us twice because of Korpisalo.
Yep. All right. 3 notes from around the league in training camps. Max Pacioretty is signed with Toronto, $800,000 with room for up to $600,000 in incentives. Some rough math there. It can come out to close to $1.5 million if he plays 35 games for the Leafs. Leafs had some money. They could obviously do this. They brought in Pacioretty with the expectation they were going to sign him. No surprise there. Kyler Yamamoto has signed with the Utah Hockey Club. Is expected to be a 2-way deal from what we've heard. Well, I'll get to that in a second. 1 year, 2-way deal for Yamamoto with Utah. So he's not guaranteed NHL salary all season, but just looking at their forward group, there'll be room for him to come up at some point during the season when they run into injuries. So no surprises there. Sam Gagner released from his PTO in Carolina. I think this is maybe the end for our pal Sam.
Sam Gagner left or right shot?
I think he's a left shot.
The Oilers just lost left winger in Bakersfield.
Who?
Lavoie.
Lavoie's a right shot.
Plays left wing.
I thought he played the right side.
I'm sure he does, but in Bakersfield, he was down as left winger. Like, I don't know, maybe the Oilers bring him back for a fourth stint in Bakersfield.
So
but clearly he wanted to try and get into the NHL and didn't get it.
So I was going to ask you that. I was like, is there room for Bakersfield? But we were just talking, like, rattle off some of the forwards they have down there. Liam.
Well, the top 6 was looking pretty good until 10 minutes ago.
Still, give me the top 5.
Phil, Savoie, Kajula, Hamlin, Griffith, Lane Peterson, Gruby. They also have guys like James Steffen, Cameron Wright, who's going back for another year.
Cameron Wright might earn an NHL contract at some point.
Ethan DeJong's another decent player they have in the forward group. Like,
do you want to take minutes away from those guys for Gagner? He's a right shot, by the way.
I think I honestly would. I'd give him a shot. I don't know. It's hard to say, right? Because like, why would he want to come back for a fourth time and play in Bakersfield? Is it not just easier to be like, hey, Sam, retire and you can be our Western Canadian scout?
I think he has a path to management somewhere, and maybe they just start that, or maybe he takes the year off, retires eventually, and then it's I like this comment here. Oilers Nation, and you guys don't know which way our players shoot. LOL. Okay, Gagne he played like 10 games last year.
I mean, it's one player.
Yeah. So that's our training camp notes. Ooh, the McDavid thing.
Oh yeah, that's pretty cool.
So he posted on his Instagram.
Oh, that one.
Him in a chef outfit.
He's cooking. What's he cooking?
He looked handsome in that photo.
The inscription on there said McDavid's.
Yeah.
We debated this on ON Radio. I think he's opening a restaurant. That is a
pizza restaurant.
That's your take?
100%.
We're going to find out today. He said in the Instagram post, find out what I'm cooking on October 7th. So my guess, restaurant.
Yeah, my guess, restaurant.
People were saying like it's something in the arena, something with the Oilers. It's the new Bobby Nix burger. If it was an Oilers restaurant or something to do, the Oilers would have announced it. The Oilers did not chime in on this at all.
Oh, he's out.
Oh, it's out. He posted a reel 6 minutes ago. Are you kidding me?
Everything's coming at 12.
Yeah. Why are we dropping it? Is it a restaurant? Can you guys?
Yeah, let us know.
Oh, it's a thing with CIBC.
Oh, that is so lame.
What?
No way.
Our show sucks today, but we're starting season 3 properly.
That's disappointing.
Please don't do this.
So it's nothing.
Also, he didn't make that. He's chopping up some onions.
They're watching the reel.
So he said,
that is so lame.
So he said, find out on October 7th what I'm cooking up. And all he was cooking up was a commercial with CIBC. Are you kidding me?
Well done, CIBC, because I was interested in this.
I thought my idea was flawless.
Yeah, me too.
My idea was he was going to open up a restaurant in Holland Park, which has been closed.
Yeah, you went deep.
And it's closed until next summer. McDavid's Holland Park. Like, you want people to come to your park?
Yeah.
Get that in.
Connor.
Okay, so now we know what's going on with McDavid and what he's cooking. That's what's trending for our friends at Sherwood Power Sports and Marine.
I hope you're hungry for nothing.
Quite literally.
Unbelievable.
God damn it, Connor.
That's why I'm an RBC member. They would never dupe me like that.
I'm a CIBC guy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
No free ads. No free ads.
No free ads. So now, in the name of fairness, we have to give a shout out to every bank. Service Credit Union, who actually has been a partner with us. And ATB, who's also been a partner with us.
Who gets my home insurance? Shout out TD.
Good on you.
Proud.
Okay. Flex, dude.
Yeah.
Flex.
We have a little more actual serious stuff to talk about. Also, Carter Hutton's going to join us in a bit.
Shall we do the other McDavid news?
Which is what?
His number's being retired by the Erie Otters.
In 96 days now.
Yeah, which is actually it might be less than that.
Oh, yeah.
I think when they announced it was 97.
95.
So fair play to Erie. I mean, inevitable that would happen. Pretty cool actually to get a number retired at any level is special. And obviously McDavid's probably going to get it a couple of times. But yeah, it's I think I'll actually tune in and try and watch that ceremony. I'd be curious who he brings.
Do you think he'll cry?
No, I don't. I don't think he'll cry.
Okay,
but you know what? Like that Erie team, be curious to see like the friendships he's maybe been able to keep and like go to that. Like, does Brinkat go? Strom, are they able to go?
Connor Brown,
Travis Dermott,
Chris Knobloch.
Yeah. So they all come in.
Yeah.
Josh Brown, because he played against him that one time.
True. That's true. He played against.
For those wondering, the Oilers play. It's in Erie, Pennsylvania, right? Erie's in PA.
Yeah, Pennsylvania.
The Oilers play in Pittsburgh on the 9th. And then they're in Chicago on the 11th. So the 10th is Connor can go up and then meet the team in Chicago the next day. So it all kind of it all lines up pretty well. Okay,
that's actually incredibly convenient how that happened.
Well, they obviously.
Oh yeah, no kidding. That feels stupid of me.
They just announced it 97 days out. Yeah.
Again,
we're not
just trended.
We're not sharp today.
No, it's
not that we ever pretend to
Smash
be.
Mouth once said, "I ain't the sharpest tool in the shed."
Yeah. Okay, we're going to get to Hutton in like 90 seconds here, but quickly, the Oilers did also make some news over the weekend, sending down Noah Phil. We had speculated on Friday when we were looking at the lineup and it had Noah Philp as 4C. We were like, okay, is this because Noah Philp is making the team and this is their opening night roster? Or is this because Derek Ryan's banged up? It ends up being Derek Ryan was banged up. They send Philp down. I love Noah Philp. I love the Golden Bears story, all of that stuff. I have zero qualms with giving him, like we said earlier, 15 games, 20 minutes a night in Baco. He hasn't played a lot of hockey lately. You got to get this guy playing. He will be a full-time Oiler by the time the calendar flips to 2025. I am sure of that. He's coming up. He's going to be an NHLer. He's a diamond in the rough line for this organization, but it's just not the time yet. Derek Ryan didn't do enough to lose his job.
Yeah, I completely agree. And he's going to do well in Bakersfield, play next to Lavoie and whoever's going to play on the left wing. Yeah, I'm good with it. I was not surprised by it at all. Any of the decisions that came with that. Is Carter here?
Yes.
Okay, I'll save my other comment till after then.
Okay.
That'd be a bit of
the Oilers also made the difficult but also not so difficult decision to waive Josh Brown.
Gasp.
He's not good. Shouldn't have gotten a 3-year deal. And I'm happy that they didn't double down or say, oh, no, we gave him 3 years, so you got to keep him on the roster like people were speculating. He did not deserve to be here based on how he played in training camp. You can bury the full cap hit, put him in the minors, and the Oilers are also clearly prioritizing accruing cap space. It cost them Raphael Lavoie, who they could have afforded to keep as a 13th forward. They put down Josh Brown. They're going to swap him for Dermott, who's probably going to be league minimum, and you can accrue cap space. There's value in that. So, again, while you can accrue cap space, it makes sense. So I have zero problems with what the Oilers did over the weekend. Blake is in second line Janmark. All right, we will talk about the way the Oilers looked at skate later, but for now, let's get out to the Star Mechanical guest line. It's Edmonton's #1 plumbing and heating company. You can find out more about them online at starmechanical.ca. They do residential, they do commercial, and if you're running into a problem, they do 24/7 emergency repair. Call Star Mechanical. They can help you out. They've been doing it in the Edmonton area for more than 20 years. For the first time this season, we welcome our friend, former NHLer Carter Hutton, back to the show. Carter, how was your summer?
It was good. It was good. How are you guys doing? It was filled with kids and activities, and I'm getting back into game shape here, just talking my life away.
No kids for me.
Yeah, none for me either. I don't do that stuff.
Acting like
just acting like a kid. Yeah. Purple hat. Interesting fashion choice.
I like it.
Oh, yeah. Nothing special. Just a golf hat. You should know. You play golf. Travis Matthews here. What's your handicap? I see you golf every day, you and your wife-to-be.
29.
Ooh. I'm down. I'm a respectable 8.
Oh, that's pretty good. That's not too bad. I'd have to give you some strokes, though, but maybe you'll get there one day. I'm a 3 right now, so.
Not bad. Not bad for a guy with kids. You don't have the luxury that I do of just golfing literally every day.
Well, the perk is my wife runs a country club here, so she's the general manager. So my excuse is I'm just going to see my wife at work and bring the kids down and work on my game.
That is smart. All right, let's talk a little bit of goaltending. We're going to be having you on a bunch throughout the season. Also, starting goalies, which is a project you do for us over at Daily Faceoff, is back for another season. Maybe just quickly tell us about that and what you got coming for the next hockey season with us at DFO.
Yeah, we'll be cooking again this year with starting goalies. We'll be doing 3 days a week usually, and then hopefully we can kind of grow into it. So for those who don't know, it's sponsored by Bet365, and I will be getting a pick out each night, trying to figure out some matchups where I like some key matchups between the goalies, and then a few bets where I think that we can hit. And last year, I think we buzzed around 70% for the season. So I got some big shoes to fill last year. It might have been just a lucky, not looking for a sophomore slump here this year.
No, you absolutely don't want that. 70% is very impressive. So tune in, starting goalies on the Daily Faceoff YouTube with Carter Hutton. Significant goalie news over the weekend with Jeremy Swayman. We joked, they did the thing. Swayman wanted 8.5, the Bruins wanted 8, and then they finally just say, well, let's just meet in the middle after screaming at each other in the media for the last 2 weeks. What did you make of the drama around the whole thing? And what do you make of the deal? Is Swayman a guy, never played 50 games in a season? Can he live up to this kind of a contract?
No, I honestly, I think it's a pretty good deal the way that he, competed last year. And I understand that he's been in a situation where he's been protected, but lots of guys are going to be, right? They still have Jonas Korpisalo who can still play decent minutes. And for Swayman, I respect him standing his ground, especially like he had something he committed to and he's trying to help the goalie market, moving forward. I feel like this deal doesn't help Igor Shesterkin by any means. I think it's a little bit lighter than Shesterkin would have liked to see. But for Swayman, I think this is a good example of him standing his ground and kind of having that leverage he deserved. I think on the other side of it, looking at the Linus Ullmark trade, you'd think this would be something they would have had kind of almost in writing, a backdoor handshake deal done before trading Linus Ullmark away. But it's kind of nice to get this out of the way. And I feel for Swayman in the sense of, he holds his ground. They go to the media. So there's a bit of that frayed relationship. But I feel like, once this season gets rolling, as long as it gets off to a decent start for Swayman, this will all be in the past.
What do you think Shesterkin's deal would be then?
I think right now, there was obviously that number 12 that was thrown around a lot with Shesterkin. And I think that's just high with the way the cap's been. Like, it's going up, but I feel like teams just don't value goalie in that sense, where a guy playing 60 games and he's still, comparatively numbers for Shesterkin, he's got a little bit better numbers than Swayman, save percentage wise in the career, 921, Swayman 919. His goals against is a little bit higher than Swayman's at 2.42 and Swayman's in 2.39. So numbers very comparable. And you look at a guy taking an 8-year deal, I think you look at something, maybe a shorter term deal, maybe he takes like 5 years, 10 million, 11. I just think that number of 12 is a bit of a long shot now, especially with Swayman taking this contract.
So to tie it back into the Oilers here on Oilers Nation every day, I just mentioned with Swayman, like when we talked about this last week, it was like, yeah, I can understand why the Bruins are maybe driving a hard bargain here, because Swayman wants to be paid like a workhorse starter, but he hasn't played 50 games, has never played deeper than the second round, has always had the safety net of Ullmark. I now look at Stuart Skinner and I go, okay, he's got 2 more years on his current deal. And then he's a UFA, not an RFA. So a bit more power to the player there. And Skinner can sit there and go, I've, at this point, played back-to-back seasons of 50 games. I've taken a team to a Stanley Cup final. I know there were some struggles in the playoff run. And he's never had the safety net of a Vezina guy. He's had Jack Campbell as his backup. Is there a case maybe for Skinner to be in the Swayman range when he needs a deal? Or are you not there on Stu?
I'm not there on student just yet, right? I still think he's got 2 years to really get into that category. And, I don't think we can sit here and view a guy, he was kind of trial by fire, right? He was a chance. Jack Campbell was supposed to come in and protect him, and you're supposed to be a little more spotted starts. And next thing you know, he had the keys to the castle and he had a lot thrown on him, especially in a market where they're expected to win now, right? So, and I think he's taken a lot. He hasn't been able to hide from it, right? There's been times where he's struggled and he hasn't been great, where when I look at Shesterkin, and maybe other than that little reset he had last year before the All-Star break, which he wasn't playing horrible by any means, but not up to his standard. And Swayman having the protection of Ullmark that whole time. Skinner hasn't had that, but I also feel like he hasn't really proven himself to be in that upper echelon of, those go-to guys, right? Where this year you start looking at his playoff run, when he did have that little game break against Vancouver and Pickard came in and played well. For Skinner, I think this is kind of the show me year, right? If he has a really good this year, I think now we're talking about what is he going to want, and he can kind of demand the market a bit more. Because for him, he played, 82 games last year, regular season and playoffs. That is considered a modern day workhorse, right? There's not many guys playing those kind of minutes and putting up, not that his numbers were electric by any means, but if you look at a chunk of that first half of that season when the Oilers were struggling, his numbers were horrendous, right? So that turnaround was, I think a big confidence boost for this Oilers team. And even during that playoff run, how he could bounce back. So I think it sits well with the Oilers fans moving forward with Stuart Skinner.
Yeah. Liam's going to give you some overrated, underrated in a bit. Oh, do you have another question?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, well then ask.
Because I like to keep piling on this Matt Larkin goalie tandem list.
Oh, that pissed me off.
Oh, you're telling me. It's been weeks about it. Did you see it, Carter?
No, I haven't seen that.
Okay, so if you had to guess before I tell you the numbers, where would you have Skinner and Pickard ranked amongst the league tandems off the top of your head?
Off the top of my head, I would probably have them in the top 10, but like 8th, 9th, somewhere like that. I think Pickard doesn't bring a ton to the table, but I also think he's you look at his numbers, like I feel like he should be older than he is. He's 32. He's played 139 games with a career 904. If he buzzes around his average, that's a great backup. So I would put them, near the top 10 because I think Stewart's upside is still pretty good.
Matt Larkin, want to put a name on this, ranked him 17th in the NHL as a tandem. I think that was crazy. So a couple of tandems above them: Aiden Hill, Samsonov, Demko, and Lankinen and Seelovs, and then also Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, Devin Levi.
Yeah, I would consider those two very unproven in that sense, right? I think that's still a giant question mark, and I understand that maybe a bit because of Stuart, having those little gaps in the season, but I would rank them a lot higher. I think Stuart's upside is a lot higher than we look at some of those other teams for sure.
You mentioned the Canucks trio there, and it's a trio because no one knows what's going on with Demko and his knee. I'm not really quite sure how to ask you about the Demko thing, but when you hear what he's dealing with, I forget what the ligament is and how long it's now been bothering him, there's probably got to be some concern there for his long-term future. And I guess part two is it's a Canucks team that's trying to repeat as division champions. Can Silovs and Lankinen get that job done?
I don't know. This is the guy that played a lot of good hockey last year, right? 51 games, 918 save percentage, and a nagging injury. So the biggest thing for me is this injury has been bothering him for a while here. And Thatcher Demko is a guy that is an absolute workhorse, right? We're talking about a guy that when he steps on the rink, he goes full tilt, whether it's practice, whether it's games, whatever it is. So to be able to try to reinvent yourself around an injury and where you're at, especially the way he plays, is going to be a big challenge. I think for Silovs and Lankinen, I don't mind this duo. My biggest worry with Silovs is the fact of last year he gets thrust in this position in the playoffs where you're buzzing on emotion. This is something I can tell you year after year. I've seen this happen in the NHL. A guy would come up and play a few games and be like, oh, he's the next big one, right? And then all of a sudden you get into the grind of an 82 game season in the NHL and you can't really play on emotion as much. You need to be able to bring it every day in practice and prep yourself. So he's going to have a lot of weight on his shoulders here, especially with him being out for at least a month minimum, Demko. And I mean, that's a month before we see him potentially trying to get back into action. So I think there's going to be a lot there. I think Lankinen is a guy that can't really carry the mail. Similar, he's a great backup, right? He played on limited rest with Saros as a backup, but I don't want to see him 6 months into the season trying to carry this Vancouver Canucks team, where Thatcher Demko is the guy that is a difference maker. So I think they have some big shoes to fill, and the main thing is getting Thatcher Demko healthy because he is a big question mark for this Vancouver Canucks team.
Well, I think a good example is someone like Devin Levi. I don't think he quite came in and lit it up like Silovs did, and obviously a bigger stage coming into the playoffs. But Levi struggled last year as a guy who was now this full-time goalie in the NHL. And they
had to go down to Rochester.
League. Yeah,
I've seen it a lot where young guys come in and it's just you're playing on emotion and it's really hard to be sustainable in that sense. Not that they're not good goalies, right? Not that they're going to get over the clip and become those guys, but you need to learn. That's where experience comes in, and you see it all the time with goalies. It's really hard to see a younger guy come in and be super successful right away.
All right. In our preparation to get ready for the new season, Liam's got some overrated, underrated, or perfectly rated names to throw your way. So Liam throws you the name. You tell us, public perception-wise, do you think they're overrated, underrated? It's a very self-explanatory game we play. Liam, take it away.
Okay, the first one we got Joseph Wall. Ooh. Overrated, underrated, or perfectly rated?
I hate to be right in the middle on this one. I think he's rated pretty well. Like there's a lot of upside. I think his injury, but I maybe would say in public perspective, in my eyes, he's underrated. I guess I got to go underrated here because I think this guy has a really, really high ceiling, but he's got to stay healthy.
Yeah, and the Leafs obviously go out and sign Anthony Stolarz over the summer as well. I did my one and only fantasy hockey draft last night, and this was the one I struggled with because I agree. I think Woll has upside, but they didn't sign Stolarz for no reason, right?
Yep. I agree. This is a big question mark for this Leafs team. And again, this is one of those ones where I was on a show earlier this morning. I talked about it's almost a formality of the regular season for the Leafs. It's like, what can they do in the playoffs? And a big question mark is in between the pipes.
All right. Second one, Jeremy Swayman.
We just talked about him. Good.
Yeah, we did.
I honestly think he's overrated a bit. I honestly think there's a lot of upside. He's played very well, but it's different when you're the guy. It's going to be a lot different being the guy and having the keys to the castle, especially in a Bruins market where if things don't start well, this is going to turn on him quickly. And I feel like he's an interesting character watching that Amazon series, but there's going to be a lot of weight on his shoulders coming in now.
I think he's just slightly overrated with all the news that's just been around him too. He's been the only player we've really spoke about last few months, right? So I think just that build up, obviously a great goalie. But next one, Darcy Kemper.
Ooh, he plays on the Kings. Everybody, I feel like everybody forgot about that.
I couldn't find a photo of him in a Kings jersey.
Honestly, this is a guy that I spent a ton of time playing with. I know him. I would say at this point in his career, he's pretty underrated. This is a guy that can just kind of eat up minutes, especially playing on a team that can be defensive. He's not going to wow you. He's not going to be a guy that's going to, steal you games all the time. But I feel like he's very consistent. And I think a little change of scenery, getting back to LA, where he really kind of kickstarted his career could help him out again. And he's a Stanley Cup champion, right? He has that in his back pocket. So I would say right now in his career, at times maybe overrated, but I think right now he's definitely underrated on that LA Kings team.
I didn't really know. I would say maybe just perfectly rated in a way too, because I don't really have a view on him.
He also does. He holds some power in this Western Conference playoff picture, because if he bounces back, the Kings are a playoff team. If he's the Darcy Kemper we saw for stretches last year, a Kings team might miss the playoffs this year.
Yes. And that's where I feel like just being out there and settling into life. He's, last year became a new father. There's a lot of things that go into it. I think sometimes we don't view as on the outside looking in what athletes deal with. And him going back to a familiar place where he had a lot of success in LA before he got traded. So, that might help. And again, this is a team that knows how to defend well. I know they're going to try to run a little bit of a different system so they don't lose again in the first round of the Oilers. So I think with Darcy Kemper, though, he gives them a little bit of stability and experience.
Now, the last one, Calvin Pickard.
This one's easy for me. He's underrated. This is a guy that has value. He brings more off the rink as well. A journeyman. I guess maybe it's a soft spot for me, right? Playing with Calvin growing up and, coming up through the ranks a bit. A guy I think when they first brought in, everybody wasn't too excited about this transaction, but he was great last year. And then he went in and he was serviceable. He played very well in the playoffs. And that's a tough situation to come in. I couldn't imagine for a younger goalie going into that. So for Calvin Pickard, I think this is definitely a guy that's underrated. He is who he is, right? He's not going to do anything. He's not going to all of a sudden become a superstar overnight by any means, but he's serviceable and he brings a lot of value to this Oilers team.
I think underrated and underappreciated.
Yeah, Oilers fans got to give him a bit more love. He did save the season last year.
100%.
So
I mean, the people count is like he doesn't play any good teams. Like, well, he's not supposed to. He's the backup goalie.
That's what backup goalies do.
100%.
Comes in.
And there's value. There's so much value in that, especially when it's spotted starts, right? He'd come in every 2 weeks or just get thrown into a mixer, and nobody wants to hear excuses of why you didn't play well, right? I was in a very similar situation when I played with Pickard. It was a matter of I could look at a schedule and know when I was going to get a start, right? You just that's the way it played out. And you had to find a way to mentally get ready to go without reps, with just practice. And that's what Calvin Pickard can do. And there's value. And then all of a sudden, if there's an injury or something happens, he's ready to go and he can carry the mail to keep the team going in the right direction.
Huts, really appreciate your time, man. I know you do 1,000 of these every week, but you're one of the hardest working guys in media. We look forward to chatting with you throughout the year.
Thanks. My hat, what do you think? The hat, overrated or underrated? You know what I mean? I'm just, trying out something new this year.
I think purple's a good color.
I think underrated. People don't wear purple enough.
It pops.
There we go. I needed to hear it. I was a little nervous stepping outside my box here a bit.
Okay, see ya, Huts.
Okay, see ya, boys.
There you go, Carter Hutton. I know you were saying it brings out his eyes.
Well, I
put that in the chat.
Yeah. Okay. Quickly here, we got a couple of minutes before we get to our next segment. So we got a couple of comments in the chat that I wanted to talk about. I need to skip through the overrated, underrated. Okay, people quickly talking about the Jeff Skinner thing. So Oilers skated today, and Jeff Skinner's not in the top 6 anymore.
Yeah.
It's Matthias Janmark skating with Leon Draisaitl and Victor Arvidsson. So this is pretty hilarious because on Friday's show, I was talking about how Janmark's not a third liner, he's a fourth liner. And the Oilers said, bet he's a second liner. So that's great. I don't love this. And I get that people are saying, it's sending a message to Skinner. He was a bit too pedestrian during the preseason. They want to kick him in the ass a little bit and say, let's get going. You signed him for a reason. The preseason is garbage and nobody cares about it. Give Jeff Skinner the first 5 games next to Leon Draisaitl. If this is to send him a message for one practice that, hey, you got to get going, I'm fine with it. If this is what they do on opening night, I'm not going to be fine with it.
I'm not fine with any of this if that's the reason. And honestly, I don't think it is. I don't think the Oilers put a lot of stock into preseason. If they did, Noah Philp would be on the team.
Decent point.
So if this is to give him a kick up the backside, then this is quite frankly ridiculous.
Yeah.
He's a veteran in this league. You know what he will bring to your team. What is it? Since like 2011, only Ovechkin has more 5-on-5 goals than him. Like, why do you not want this guy next to Draisaitl, but you have him next to Henrique and Connor Brown? I think this is a poor decision if this stays the same, but I don't think it will. I think this is one of those things that, like, maybe the game starts in Janmark's next year, and halfway through the first, like, oh, this was a terrible idea. And now Skinner's there.
There we go. Skinner scores less than 10 this year from Maynard.
Which one?
Yeah, because Stuart probably won't hit the 10 goal mark. But anyways, Mainlander Tim, Jeff Skinner, the 2024 Connor Brown. We are so back. We are so back. Gord, Lavoie was a better fit than Janmark on a scoring line. Fair? Yeah. Rusty, time to freak out about a random practice before the season. Let's read into something that means absolutely nothing.
I disagree. This is 2 games before your season starts.
2 days.
These practices should mean something.
Yeah. Preseason wrecked the hype around this team from Daryl. They'll be fine.
They will be fine.
Maynard, Buffalo bottom out for a reason. I'll freely admit it if I'm wrong. He's scoring 20 goals this year. We're fine. Oh, Mainlander Tim. That needs to be a sarcastic font. Fair. All right. We talked about how we're really cranking up the regular guests this year on the show.
Yeah.
And one thing we're going to do to have more of an NHL kind of vibe focus on the show once a week is on Mondays, we're going to do 5 things with Anthony DeMarco. He's joining Daily Faceoff. We've had him on in the past. We've talked Flyers and things like that, but he's joining Daily Faceoff as one of our national writers, and he's going to join us every Monday for 5 things with Anthony DeMarco. And it's brought to you by our friends at Greta Bar Yeg Arcade, bar, street food. They got 3 things and they do them all really well. And it's also a fantastic time for me to tell you that our season launch party is coming. We are going back to Greta to kick off the year, and we are going in just 10 days, October 17th. Here is all the information you need. It's presented by our friends at Alberta Blue Cross. The doors open at 4. The puck drops at 6 for a road game as Edmonton takes on Nashville. Leon Draisaitl, mayor of Smashville, anybody? We got drink specials. We got food specials. You can play games in the intermission. You can watch the Oilers or the hockey game with us, and it's all happening at our season kickoff party at Greta. Shout out to Greta. Shout out to everyone who's going to come. Tickets available, nationgear.ca, and they're all in support of free play for kids. So get your tickets today. Reserve your spot. This bad boy is going to sell out, even though it is only 10 days out, and we hope to see you there. You'll be there.
Yep, I will be.
Pre and post game will be there, live on location as well.
I basically live there. I'll be there.
100%.
Can't wait to eat there again.
I know. We got the hot dogs on special.
Oh, really?
A really good hot dog.
Yep. A really good hot dog. That's what they call it. There. All right, let's get to Anthony DeMarco now. Anthony, welcome into the show. Excited to have you on every week. Are you fired up for the hockey season?
Looking forward to it, guys, because I absolutely detest preseason, and I won't jump in on that Jeff Skinner talk. I am livid because he was one of my final picks in my fantasy league, and now I am really pissed off. So I hope Knobloch fixes that and corrects course, just like you guys were kind of talking about.
It's interesting that you say he's one of the last picks in your draft, because when you're in Edmonton doing fantasy hockey drafts with Oilers fans, I think Skinner went in like the 5th round.
Tell him about the Tyratty one you did.
Oh, one time I traded after Ty Ratty had a sick preseason playing with McDavid. I'm like, this guy's riding shotgun with 97. So I traded William Nylander for him.
Oh, that's you should probably keep that one to yourself. But I feel like there's always that player with the Oilers. Like I remember when, I don't know if I was in high school or I just got into college, but Linus Omark, that guy was just like popping off. Like the Oilers always have this one guy that you think is going to be this massive breakout star, and then the conclusion is just kind of like a wet fart. So sorry, but hey, I grew up watching the Flyers, so I'm used to that as well.
That's fair. All right, so every Monday you're going to join us. We're going to go around the league and do 5 good things with Anthony DeMarco. Number 1 on our list, it's obvious. It is Jeremy Swayman's extension in Boston. What did you think when it came down the pipe? 8 years, 8.25. Good value. Did either side get a win here? Like I'm sitting here kind of going like, if this was the deal all along, you guys could have avoided a lot of drama and signed it in August.
Yeah, exactly. That's the first thing that I kind of thought of was just like, 8 by 8, always kind of, give or take, $250,000 or 2 is what I think everyone kind of thought where this was going. But, I spoke to several league executives today, along with a few agents. And, it's crazy depending which side of the aisle of people you speak to, you'll get different kind of responses. I think I spoke to one executive who was just like, too much money for a goalie. This is what you get when Boston holds out too long or doesn't get him locked up last year. They should just lock him up long-term and avoid that 1-year arbitration award of a contract. But then you get from the agent side of things where I have people saying like, oh, this is a good deal for Swayman. holding out worked out well. And then you get some people in the middle who are just like, like it kind of seems fair for both sides. Maybe the Bruins gave up a bit too much money. So it feels like most people, like if you average out all the responses, is that Swayman came out a bit ahead. But at the end of the day, maybe the Bruins were just trying to shortchange him a bit too much.
Yeah, it's interesting actually to hear with, other goalies coming up. Shesterkin, like what's he going to get? Skinner a couple of years.
Talked about that with Hutz, yeah.
Yeah. The NHL did actually kick off already in Europe, which I don't know if everyone watched, but like, what did you make of those games between the Devils and the Sabres?
Sabres playoff expectations, and they kind of just
Yeah, that it's really unfortunate for the Sabres to get off to such a rocky start. Like, look, it's only 0-2. You still have 80 games left on the runway here. But like you just felt that, like, along with the likes of like the Ottawa Senators, the Sabres needed to hit the ground running. And you lose back-to-back games. The first one, they lost 4-1. It's just not the way you want to start the season, especially with the first season of the returning Lindy Ruff behind the bench. But for the New Jersey Devils, like, they're my pick to come out of the Eastern Conference this year and represent the conference in the Stanley Cup final. So, I mean, I'm not overly surprised with the Devils taking both games there. Like, I think if you ask most people, they were a team that were better than what their record showed last year. But between injuries on the back end and just absolutely putrid goaltending, it really sewered them. But I mean, you look at the Sabres, I don't have them making the playoffs this year. But at the same time, you were still kind of hoping like maybe this is finally the year, especially with Lindy Ruff. Maybe Tage Thompson comes back after a semi-disappointing season, but it's just not a very inspiring start to the Sabres, who, as you mentioned, really it's kind of like a playoffs or bust year there.
It really is, and there's a handful of teams out east who are in that same spot. Your debut piece over at dailyfaceoff.com was a sit-down with Nashville Predators AGM Scott Nickel. What an offseason it was for the Nashville Predators. Scott Nickel and company, they were busy. Marchessault, Shea, obviously the Stamkos signing, but there always is that lingering feel of like the team that wins the offseason doesn't always win the regular season or anything like that. How good can this Predators team be? Are they still a wild card team in your eyes? Are they good enough to win the division? Are they good enough to go on a run? Where do you have them pegged?
Well, I don't put them as a Stanley Cup contender, like within the division. Like, I don't have them with the Dallases or the Colorados, but I think what these moves did was put them way ahead, or maybe not way ahead, but just like ahead, no questions asked, above guys teams like the Minnesota Wild, the Winnipeg Jets, and the St. Louis Blues. Like, for me, it's Dallas, it's Colorado, and it's Nashville. And I really don't think, at least to start the season, there's an argument to be made that the Minnesotas or the Winnipegs of the world could unseat any of those teams. Long term, I'm hesitant as to the direction of the Nashville Predators, because you did kind of lock up a lot of money long term in aging players. But I mean, you have Yossi under contract long term. You have Forsberg under contract long term. You commit to UC Saros. If you're going to go down this path, you might as well go all the way in and try and maximize the here and now. I philosophically disagree with the Predators trying to, avoid a rebuild, which I think that they did technically need. But at the same time, teams in the Midwest, it's hard to justify doing a full-scale rebuild. You see the St. Louis Blues are kind of doing that. Minnesota has done that to an extent. It's hard to justify doing a full tear it down to the studs rebuild when you are a team in the Midwest. So if they were going to do this, if they were going to take this path, might as well go all the way in. I just don't know if these moves will get them to a cup contender, but they certainly are no longer a wild card team in my eyes.
The Flyers, I think, are going to be another interesting team this season. Obviously, lingered around the playoffs pretty much the entire year until the last 2 or 3 games. They're keeping Jetlachenko.
Crazy. 13th overall pick. Yeah.
What do you kind of make of that team? And do you think the youth can guide them to the playoffs this year? Or do you think they're going to sit back where they were?
I think they'll probably be on the bubble again. I have 5 teams coming out of the Atlantic. And in the Metro Division, the Devils, the Rangers, probably the Hurricanes as well, are the 3 teams that are my favorite to come out of that division and take those 3 playoff berths. And I just don't know if the Flyers will have the internal improvement enough to leapfrog those teams in the Atlantic Division, because aside from the Montreal Canadiens, I would say every single team in that division has playoff aspirations. And then you have to deal with the other bubble teams in the Metro, like the Pittsburgh Penguins and the New York Islanders and the Washington Capitals. So, like, look, the defense I still think is a work in progress for the Flyers. No Sean Walker this year, and we saw what his departure after the trade deadline, how that affected the team. Is Jamie Draisaitl going to be able to stay healthy and take that step? Can Cam York take a step? Will Travis Sanheim be the Travis Sanheim from the first half of the season last year? Up front, I really like the team. Obviously, Matvei Michkov is stealing the headlines. One of the players with the highest skill set the Flyers have seen since the peak years of Claude Giroux. Down the middle is still kind of a work in progress. Like Sean Couturier really came off the rails late in the season last year, which wound up as a healthy scratch. Morgan Frost, can he finally solidify himself as a top 6 centerman and get out of John Tortorella's doghouse? And Jet Luchenko, is he the real deal? Like, I was speaking to someone today with the team who told me that all the details in his game, including the skating, the defensive awareness, are NHL ready. But is his offensive game going to be able to translate enough to justify keeping him beyond that 9 games? And then the biggest thing for me, it's the goaltending. Sam Ersson has looked really strong, but Ivan Fedotov has been kind of up and down in training camp. And we saw what happened to Sam Ersson after Carter Hart went away and he didn't have a reliable backup. So it's not so much a question for Sam Ersson, but they really need some quality backup starts from Ivan Fedotov.
Last one for you, and it comes in off this comment from Brendan, who said Edmonton had a better offseason than Nashville, so be careful of those words. I don't think they did. Like, again, you signed Stamkos, Marchessault, and Brady Shea. The Oilers didn't have a better offseason, but let's wrap up with your thoughts on the Oilers heading into this season. They did add, Skinner, Outgo McLeod, and Warren Fogle. Here's a good breakdown of what they got up to. What'd you make of this summer by the Edmonton Oilers, and what are your expectations for them heading into this season?
Well, spoiler alert, I have them winning the Stanley Cup. I think this is a complete cup or bust year for the Edmonton Oilers. I mean, you still have one of the best defensive pairs in hockey in Ekholm and Evan Bouchard. Evan Bouchard has a real chance of contending for the Norris Trophy this year. You're going back to the well with Stuart Skinner between the pipes, and he's proven that he's not a Vezina Trophy guy, but he is good enough to get you close to the promised land. And then aside from that, you have Jeff Skinner come in, you have Victor Arvidsson come in, you maintain Hyman and RNH for the line mates of Connor McDavid. There wasn't a whole lot to improve on, and I think that the front office in Edmonton found a way to do so. I like those additions of Skinner and Arvidsson, that they can kind of rotate around that middle 6, be competent wingers for Leon Draisaitl, who I think at times last year didn't have good enough wingers. And on defense, I think that's the only question of if that middle pair with Darnell Nurse and will it be Troy Stetcher, guys? Is that what we're kind of looking at right now on that second pair?
Probably Emberson, I think.
Probably Emberson to start with Stetcher on the third.
So I think that the only question mark for me is, will that second pair be able to hold up? And it's not even the partner for Darnell Nurse. It's Darnell Nurse himself. Forget about being a $9.5 million defenseman. You're now effectively the number 3. Can you be good enough to anchor that second pair? I do think it's somewhere between now and the trade deadline, you'll need to find another right shot guy who could be more of an impact player. But I think it really comes down to Darnell Nurse and if he can be good enough to really anchor that second pair. But aside from that, I really like the look of this team. And for a team that was 1 win away from a Stanley Cup, there wasn't a whole lot to improve on.
Yeah, that's fair. 5 Things with Anthony DeMarco, brought to you by our friends at Greta. You can read Anthony's work at dailyfaceoff.com. Like we said last time, excited to have you on the team this year, Anthony, and excited to have you on ONE every week as well. Thanks for doing this.
No worries, guys. Talk to you next week.
See ya.
See ya. There goes Anthony. Away.
Why
good.
did you say it like that?
I don't know, man.
There he goes.
Yeah, nothing makes
Fare
sense.
thee well.
Okay. We do actually still have like a decent amount of stuff to get to today on the show. Their segment isn't today, but we do need to welcome a new friend to the program.
Okay.
Do you know who it is?
I want you to tell me.
I'm excited for your ad read.
We're excited to welcome Square
Whoa.
as a partner of the show. If you run a restaurant, whoa, you're too busy for this ad. You're thinking about how to get more orders flowing and new locations opening up and things of that nature. You need to get more customers and keep them coming back. So really, you're already thinking about Square, because Square Restaurant Tech has already helped more than 400,000 restaurants do all of those things and more, and they can help you. So if you're thinking about your restaurant, think bigger and think Square. Go to the link that's in our bio right now to see why Square is big in restaurants. They are going to be powering our lineup report throughout the season. So I guess they do kind of tie into the talk of Matthias Janmark being up in the top 6 and things of that nature. Also, Raphael Lavoie no longer being in the lineup either. Again, just to go back to that, this one from D. Why wouldn't you keep Lavoie if you need a top 6 player? But that's not the thinking here. The thinking wasn't they needed a top 6 player. They don't need a top 6 player. This is not about, well, I guess it kind of is about Jeff Skinner not being enough, but it's more sending a message to Skinner. Skinner is a top 6 guy. The Oilers, you could probably count Henrique in this, have 7 players who are worthy of being in an NHL top 6. Yeah. One of them's not Janmark, which is interesting enough, but I digress. I don't think you keep Lavoie and play him with Draisaitl. That's not what we're getting at here.
It's difficult to come into the NHL and jump straight into the top 6. And I understand Lavoie, and don't get me wrong, I did not want him to get claimed either, of course, but I just don't know. I don't know if his skill set, I don't know if the spot was there in the lineup for his skill set, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
I think he's a good player. I think he will have a promising NHL career, to be honest. I don't know if he's ever like a legit top 6 guy, but at the worst, like top 9 guy, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I'm disappointed he's gone, like we mentioned. Like
too.
the other prospects have gone. Someone tweeted out then, sorry, I turned off my Twitter already. There are no draft picks from Holland's era that played in the NHL currently on the Oilers, in the Oilers system.
Yeah, that sucks.
So that's not ideal. Like, obviously, you can look at the Holland tenure in many ways. And I think people, after seeing what happened in Detroit with the prospects he was able to bring through, obviously, many Hall of Famers, Datsuk Zetterberg, to name a couple.
Yep.
That was going to happen in Edmonton. And quite frankly, the complete opposite happened.
It was awful.
Yeah, it wasn't good. And you can put the blame on Tyler Wright for that as well. And look, like, we can sit here and be like, what should have been, but let's just try and look forward, I guess. And it's unfortunate, but let's just hope Vegas put him on waivers and the Oilers start 2-9-1 and we can get him back. Right?
Maybe.
I don't want to do that again.
Some optimistic views of the new lineups. Skinner might space out the scoring power over 3 lines instead of 2. Let's see.
See, I was thinking that too. Like,
Blake also said Skinner, Henrique, Brown could be great, actually. It actually does give off a pretty good third line.
Totally.
I'm high on Connor Brown heading into this year.
Yeah, me too, ironically enough.
Daryl said, give me this forward setup over almost every other team. All right.
I think it shows that the Oilers don't trust their bottom 6 in a way, though, too.
Maybe.
If I was making a decision on this, I would have actually flipped on the other side and gone Arvidsson Brown, flipped around. But
they really like how Arvidsson looked.
Then.
I'm crazy.
Arvidsson scoring 30 goals.
Well, I just mean Skinner's not a third line kind of player. Arvidsson's a third line kind of player. I don't think Arvidsson is. I'm not saying Arvidsson should be on the third line. I just assumed if the decision was going to be made, it would have been that rather than Skinner, because Skinner's got 40 goals in the NHL. Yeah, Mark might have 40 goals in the NHL.
Career-wise. He's got more than that.
I
bet he's got like 62 career goals.
That's what he did last year.
Yeah, Mark.
81 career goals.
80.
Ooh, I was right there.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
Let's talk about Travis Dermott, because this kind of ties into the Lavoie thing, because people are also putting in the chat like they had the money. This is poor asset management.
Yeah.
I think actually a bit of both. If you have the money and you have a prospect like him who makes league minimum, like, he probably is worth keeping for the money that you would have actually accrued. Like, because I know it can be like, oh, you could get such and such a body. You do have to play for the now a bit as well. And having a guy who has, let's just say, max he would have scored this year is probably 15 goals if he had a great year. And you're lining up at 775,000. That's a great bargain. And I think the reason the Oilers haven't signed Travis Dermott yet is because they're just waiting until they need him and they're just going to recruit the cap space until then, right?
Yeah.
So how many games? Because I remember they did this with Demers, I think. How many games can you keep a guy on a PTO? Or how long can you keep a guy on a PTO? You just keep re-upping it.
But I don't think he can play a regular season game until
you sign him.
Yeah, he can't play a regular season game on a PTO.
So I wonder if they won't sign him until the weekend when they have back-to-backs.
Maybe. They're going to accrue for a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised at all. I also thought maybe there was a chance they were waiting to see what happened on the waiver wire the other way. And maybe there's a right shot they like more than Dermott, but they'll sign Dermott at some point. It's just a matter of when. And they're in the accruing cap space game, which is, again, part of the reason why I take issue with people going, you had the money. Why'd you get rid of Lavoie? It's poor asset management. I do think a lot of those people, if Lavoie stayed as the 13th forward and it was 10 days from now and he hadn't played a game, they'd be saying, why is Lavoie here? Why wouldn't you just have put him down in Bakersfield? He would have cleared on the big waiver day. He's not going to clear now. Like, again, it damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of thing with the Lavoie issue. Yeah. Would I have personally kept Lavoie on the roster and not signed Corey Perry? Absolutely. I would have not signed Perry. I would have signed Holloway to what he wanted, and I would have had one of Holloway or Lavoie in my top 9 this year. The Oilers wanted to value veteran leadership. Was that smart or was that a mistake? Time will tell, with like it is with all these things. I think it's a bad read. I think they should be trying to get a little bit younger, even though they're in a Stanley Cup window. And as Anthony said, and we've said, it's a cup or bust year. Still, I would have tried to get a little bit younger and make an upside play. You can find a good veteran bottom 6 guy at the deadline for a 6th round pick.
Max.
Yeah.
Kessel.
Gord.
Sorry.
In a way, I kind of want Broberg, Holloway, Lavoie, and even Bourgault to all have huge breakout seasons to teach Oilers management a lesson to start managing their assets better. Then the other part of me hopes they all end up in the minors by November.
Okay, if you had to rank those 4 players, Broberg, Holloway, Lavoie, and Bourgault, we'll throw them in there, of like, things should have been different in the sense of like they should have been handled differently. How would you rank the 4 of them?
In that order.
Let's just say this offseason, just the overall picture, I think is clear.
Yeah. So here's kind of the tough part is there is it's not glass half full, glass half empty, but it's chicken and the egg. What came first, chicken or the egg, right? Did Broberg, Holloway, Lavoie, and Bourgault, did they not get opportunities with the big club in Edmonton because the Oilers didn't manage and develop them well? Or were they maybe not as good as we thought to begin with, and that's why they weren't getting more opportunity?
Yeah.
And I do think there's a bit of that here where, like, Philip Broberg was a legitimate or was a top 10 pick who got some chances to play at the NHL level and didn't blow the doors off enough.
Until the end.
Like, why did Vinny Desharnais get a routine shift in the NHL for a full season plus a year and a half? Because he came in and did what the coaching staff wanted and built up trust. Broberg never really did that. He made mistakes. Why did Dylan Holloway not get a regular shift in the top 6 last year? The coaching staff and multiple coaching staffs now with all of these guys weren't getting enough to justify it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of my problem with it, or with this debate, is I think it's a drafting problem.
Yes.
I think there were better picks to make in every single one of those spots, with maybe the exception of Lavoie, who I loved in the moment.
Well, Lavoie was supposed to be a 1st-round pick, and the reason he
fell.
wasn't was because of his skating.
And now you sit
and he
there
fell and he worked in it and he got better at it.
Yeah.
38th overall for a guy, like, I find it difficult. Like, for me, if you're outside the 1st round,
it's a crapshoot.
Yeah, like the only one ever is that Tyler Benson one.
Mm-hmm.
When you see like Sebastian Aho was like 2 picks later, like, damn, that would have been nice. But yeah, the 1st-round picks, it's just like, I don't know. Like Niels Höglander was picked 2 picks after Lavoie.
Just signed a 3x9 extension. With
like, so maybe that would have been good. But either way, like, clearly the Oilers wouldn't have even played Höglander anyway. Someone put in the chat too, like, throw Kesselring in that. It's like, I don't even include Kesselring in any of this conversation. The Oilers were trading a guy who, if you watched Bakersfield in the moment, was like good player. No one knew who that guy was until they traded him, and he played for Arizona, who were the worst team in the NHL. Got better because of it, and he's having a really good time.
So, like, there is a part of me with all these guys where, like, in hindsight, you sit there and go, why did you not just staple Dylan Holloway to Draisaitl's wing for 15 games and let them figure it out? And we talked about this in the moment. Why did you not just play Philip Broberg 15 minutes a night for 10 to 15 straight games and figure it out? Why did you not just put Lavoie on the bottom 6 and watch him figure it out? But when we're going game by game and we're riding the roller coaster of an NHL regular season, if Lavoie has 2 back-to-back games, Aaron, you do the post-game show, how many people sitting there and comment, Lavoie's not ready? Why is Lavoie here? He doesn't do anything.
Would be nonstop.
Right? Broberg's not ready. We need to get a good veteran in instead of him. Like, all of this kind of stuff.
That did happen last year.
Exactly. So, again, it's easy in hindsight to be like, why didn't you just play them a ton?
Yeah.
And you know what? Maybe good organizations can block out that noise, or they have a good enough good enough internal messaging and communication to go to a coach and say, you need to play this guy because we got to figure out what we have in him and it's going to be better for us long term. But you also have a very, very tough time convincing coaches to do that when their jobs are on the line.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Did what I say make sense, or was it all just verbal garbage?
No, it makes sense. I think the Oilers just in that weird spot, right?
Yeah.
Where like they're good deals. They're hoping that these veteran guys who come in, have this getting through the Stanley Cup final experience, like Janmark's been, Henrique. Well, obviously most of them now. We went to the finals last year, but prior to that as well with like Perry. So I just think where the Oilers are gonna go. They're just gonna go out and see if they can find other people's junk essentially and pod calls in, cost in, and hope that kind of works out. And
Well,
Ty Emerson's not junk, but those lower end deals that someone else already signed that the team has given up on already.
and it is a bit of a two-way street because you can sit there and be like, they've lost Lavoie for nothing. Broberg and Holloway are gone for just picks. Borgo got flipped for, well, to be fair, a second-round pick out of Ottawa. Like Jarventi has pedigree. But you can look at the flip side of this. Vasily Podkolzin was an early first-round pick. They got him for a prayer of a fourth-rounder. Yeah. They got Klim Kostin for a guy who ended up in the American League or in Russia a year later or whatever, right? Like,
it happens everywhere. We obviously just see it way more because we watch you.
We hit on our goalie.
Yeah.
Stuart Skinner, third round pick, has turned into a bona fide NHL starting goalie. Like, it's tough because we are hyper focused on the Edmonton Oilers. So every single prospect we sit and look at and are like, whoa, this guy's going to pan out. And then we spend 3 years watching them progress and go, think about what he can be, think about what he can be. But the reality of the situation is not all your prospects are going to work out. And now this is not me making excuses for the Edmonton Oilers. Their drafting was abysmal in the Ken Holland era, and their development was abysmal. And there's not every prospect is going to work out. And then there's what we're going through with the Edmonton Oilers right now, which is no one from the Ken Holland era worked out. You did not have one good pick during that era. And it's frustrating. But you can look at Calgary. They put Jacob Peltier on waivers. And what was the reason? Again, the Oilers are in a cup window. What was the reason for the Flames not playing Jacob Peltier and figuring out what they have in them, right?
Yeah, we like to look at the negatives of it all. Yep. The Oilers drafted Ryan McLeod in the second round.
Great pick.
Worked out. Stuart Skinner was a third-round pick.
They just got
Vincent Deonay was a seventh-round pick.
Yeah, like there's
good. They've had good,
and they went and got Matt Savoy, top 10 pick.
Yeah, like it's good. Like Chris is kind of putting some guys in there. It's like they've missed on so many first-rounders. Like they also hit on Bouchard at 10. Like Nurse, I know he's not. He's a seventh. Was he 7th, 8th overall?
Yeah.
He's turned out to be a top 4 defenseman for you for a long time. He's a success.
100%.
Draisaitl at 3. People were saying he shouldn't be taken because he can't skate. Like, he gets both ways, doesn't it?
Yep. Games played out of his draft class. Darnell Nurse is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. He's 12th most games played out of his draft class.
So right around his pick.
He's very far from a bust. Like, that was a good pick.
I think
although that draft class is all hits.
I was going to say, if he's 12th,
every single player in the top 10 more or less hit. McKinnon.
Monahan was above him.
Yeah. McKinnon, Barkov, Drouin, who, like, again, you can say what you want about Jonathan Drouin, but he hit.
Yeah.
He's played over 500 games. Seth Jones, Elias Lindholm, Sean Monahan, Darnell Nurse, Rasmus Ristolainen, Bo Horvat, and Valeri Nichushkin.
Some controversial names in that list for sure. Like guys like Ristolainen, Nurse, Drouin, those guys. But like at the end of the day, they've made strong NHL careers.
If you play 500 games as a first-round pick, like you're a good pick.
Yeah, totally. So,
anyways, there you go. That's our draft rant for the day.
Didn't have that on the.
No, we didn't, because we're supposed to do the over/under for the power play guys. And every show we have had,
I brought it in for over a week straight.
I know, like we've been doing this for, it feels like a month now, where every show we sit in our little prep thing and we're like, hey, we should do the over/under for the guys who are going to be on the power play. And then we get sidetracked for an hour and we're like, we'll do it tomorrow.
Well, should we do it? Or do we have to do something else?
Well,
we haven't done a short for giant question.
We haven't done a short for giant question.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, let's do our short for giant question. Shout out to our friends at Sherwood Ford, the Giant. Tired of dealership hassles? Sherwood Ford in Sherwood Park is all about convenience and upfront pricing with their Giant Deal program. Visit them online, sherwoodford.ca. Sherwood Ford, the Giant. It is Mick 1000 watch, Liam.
It is.
Connor McDavid is 12 points away from getting to the 1,000 point mark in his NHL career. He will be one of the fastest to ever do it. Frank talked about that today in his
12.
piece.
He's 18.
Sorry, 18.
Yeah. He has 982.
Yeah, sorry, 18 away. My bad. That is bad math. So he's 18 away. The Oilers play 1, 2, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 times in October.
Yes.
Does he do it in October?
Yes. So we spoke about this in the summer a little bit on one of the shows you were away, I think, too, remembering. So Frank had on his Carolina was his bet. I think that's too soon. I think Columbus on the 28th, worst case. Best case, Pittsburgh.
The poetic answer here is Pittsburgh.
Yes, it is. And that's kind of what we...
Sidney Crosby in the building. I think in this first run of kind of 4 games where you have, okay, the Jets, but it's the home opener. There's some juice there. The Hawks are going to struggle to keep pucks out of their net. The Flames are going to struggle to keep pucks out of their net. And the Flyers, as we just talked about with Anthony, are, guess what? Going to struggle to keep pucks out of their net. I think he has 2 3-point nights in those first 4 games. And I don't think it's unreasonable to think that he could have 10 points in the first 4 games of the season.
10 points first 4 games.
Yeah. 2 3-point nights and then a couple of 2-point nights.
See, the way I'm kind of...
He could very easily also have a 4-point night in one of those games. But my map out is 10 points in the first 4 games of the season, and then he averages 2 points a game to finish it off in Pittsburgh, against Pittsburgh in Edmonton.
That Winnipeg game is the one that's kind of holding me back on that. I just don't...
Home opener.
Yeah, but I just think Winnipeg, like Connor Hellebuck at the end of the day, you know, like good goalie, the best.
Ty, the first 4 are also at home.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Sorry, can we go back to it?
Okay.
For the goalies on that too, like you look at it, it's like, okay, elite goalie Winnipeg. Peter Mrazek, not great, but decent. Had a decent year. Calgary and Philly should be able to light the lamp on them. Nashville and Dallas and Carolina all have pretty legit goalies too.
Yeah.
It's gonna be. I do think Pittsburgh is the one for me when the earliest you could get it. Also, people keep putting in Lavoie claimed by Pittsburgh, Vegas. Hilarious.
Yeah. So I don't know if you guys saw this. Ralph Lavoie got claimed on waivers by Pittsburgh. Connor McDavid, before, like, last season was not a good season opener for him. Obviously on the road, they got smoked by the Canucks. Yeah. Year before that, he had a 4-point night. Year before that, a 2-point night.
Hat trick the year before that against Calgary.
That was a number of years ago now. That was a while back.
So we're taking his overs on night 1.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'll be doing it every night.
Yeah, I think
Shut up, bet 365. Oh, jinx. No talking till I buy you a soda.
Shut up. So my pick is Pittsburgh. What's your official pick?
Pittsburgh. Well, okay. I thought Columbus.
I'm going to say Columbus.
Columbus.
Just to be different.
No, you're the same as Liam, so you can't say Columbus.
Detroit.
Okay. Pittsburgh, Columbus, Detroit. That's our range of 3 games where he's going to do it.
Detroit against Cam Talbot. Wouldn't that be something? It's meaningless, but in the building that Ken Holland built.
Yep. Here's one from Shaz Manu. Breaking: Holloway and Broberg are going to the Blues. We also had one earlier where someone just commented while we were on with Anthony. Barry signed with the Flames.
What?
A week ago.
We spoke about that. Some kind of related news to the Oilers. Easton Cowan was sent to the London Knights.
Yep.
So that's good for Sam O'Reilly.
And Nichols.
Yeah.
Yep. All right.
Breaking news: Connor McDavid first overall.
Oh, they had an outdoor game last season.
Who?
I don't know. The Oilers, probably. Golden Knights.
Oh,
Chat's been good.
Chat's
been good today.
Totally
Viewership's been good.
Yep.
Show looks better.
Show does look
People
better.
like
Oh
the
shit!
chat.
Fogle signed with the Kings. Also, I forgot the intro for today's show will make no sense to the podcast listeners. I popped my head up into the camera if you missed it. Okay. We got a couple more things we got to get to today. We plugged the party coming up at Greta in 10 days. Get your tickets, nationgear.ca. Also, while you are there, Nation Vacation. We're going to Denver on the 29th. You get Edmonton, Colorado, tickets to Edmonton, Colorado on Saturday night. You get tickets to the Monday nighter between Cleveland and Denver. So you're getting tickets to 2 events. The tailgate party we're going to for the football game is free food, free booze. Hello. You get your flights to and from Denver, or you can opt for the flightless package. And you get 4 nights in your hotel, double occupancy. Head to nationgear.ca and get in. We sold out. And then we found a way to work in, I think it's 10 more spots.
Oh, wow.
And we've already sold a chunk of those. So if you want to come with us on the Nation Vacation to Denver, November 29th until December 3rd, this is getting, you maybe have like a day and a bit to decide.
Do you know, actually,
Run, don't walk.
Yeah.
I had a great reminder of the nation vacation yesterday. I went to Oodle Noodle for dinner. I had the combo box.
We have an Oodle Noodle logo.
Green
Check above your head on the screen.
Oh, they brought us Oodle Noodle last Thursday.
Yeah.
And then I snuck a little bit too. And I had leftovers. Ooh.
I got some leftovers. And they have a massive sign for this too.
Because if
if
you're sitting there going, I don't know if I want to go on the trip. If you go to Oodle Noodle, any of the locations in Edmonton, you can enter to win a spot on the nation vacation.
Yeah.
You could get in for free, all by just enjoying some delicious Oodle Noodle.
And I mean, you can't go wrong with Oodle Noodle. And like, I'm going to say something, and I don't mean this in a bad way.
Okay.
Go full screen for that. Let's go.
Uh-oh, don't zoom in. So when we get Oodle Noodle, we always have the green onion cakes, and they are amazing. But I had a green onion cake yesterday from Oodle Noodle that was fresh off the press. And that thing was the fluffiest, most delicious thing I have ever ate in my life. I honestly couldn't believe it. I've never had a green onion cake like that before. So get your green onion cakes today, folks.
They're delicious.
They got those delicious dessert spring roll things too. Have you ever had one?
Oh, I've never had one of those.
Mix that in next time.
All right. Last thing we got to get to today is our other sports report brought to you by Bet365. Check them out online, download the app, and use the promo code OILYBONUS to get in on all the action. Whatever the sport, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app. Like I said, promo code OILYBONUS. Find out what it gets you.
I just thought of something for the Bet365 thing that I want to throw in there that happened in the Bolton game this weekend.
What happened? Did our Wanderers win?
They tied 2-2.
They say draw.
But the manager, I don't want to reveal this, but Aaron, if you go on Twitter and go to type in Ian Evert, and
I need spelling that.
Ian
Evert,
EVATT. Now you can all do this at home as well for the podcast listeners, and go down to 1, 2, 3. It looks like it's the third one on the top, and just see if you can bring that video in.
His forehead doing the thing?
Yeah. So BWFC 714. We'll get to that in a moment, but that other sports report, Buffalo Bills. What are we doing?
Okay.
What are we doing?
So,
I'm going to show it, Ty.
Well, you want to show the concussion?
Yeah.
Allegedly, in our opinion.
Oh,
yeah. He was. I think
he goes limp.
I think he was out cold for a little bit there. We came back in the game. Their clock management at the end of the game was terrible. They are the first team in NFL history to get the ball inside their own 10-yard line with under 2 minutes to go and not draw up a single run play. So that was dumb. Also,
they do that a few times though. That clock management is so weird.
So bad, man. McDermott sometimes he's got nothing going on upstairs.
I texted you both to be like, what is going on right now?
So Allen played really bad that whole game. The Bills in general played terrible. There was the one play Keon Coleman just didn't turn around and he got hit in the back of the head. So the Bills stunk. They're 3-2 though, and the good news is their division is bad. Oh, because the Jets also stink. And the Finns stink, and the Pats stink. So they have a clear path to walking to the division. I'm not worried about that.
Oh, yeah.
It's all whatever.
Today. Pats are on the clock.
Yeah, first overall.
Oh, really?
Let's go.
What did you have for Bolton?
Okay, so I want to put some context behind this.
Okay.
The Bolton drew 2-2 against Shrewsbury. Bolton is supposed to be a team that's get promoted. Shrewsbury at the bottom. Bolton went down 2-2 at halftime, managed to come back and tie the game. There was supposed to be 8 minutes of added time. Within that added time, Shrewsbury were killing the time. And there was at least 2 minutes kind of off. So things are getting heated, to say the least, and frustrations keeled over. Let's see. You have to watch. So this guy's our manager. The player on the other team shockingly got a red card. He'll show it any second out. There it is. And then he's like, what do you mean? He's like, what do you mean? What do I mean?
What do you mean? What do you mean?
You headbutted a player.
Yeah.
Crazy to think that this occurred. And I was watching this as I was setting up my own new studio. And I was on the phone with my dad. And I was like, Ian Evert just headbutted someone. So I don't know. He's going to get suspended. He's been sent off already this season. But he is going to get a hefty one for that.
We got a little firecracker on our sideline.
To say the least.
Yeah. Okay, last thing for the other sports report. Major League Baseball playoffs. Our Cleveland Guardians absolutely ran over the Detroit Tigers on the weekend, 7-0 the final. But the Tigers got Scooble going. First pitch is 48 minutes away.
All right.
Game 2 for our Guardians, Canada's team with 4 Canadians on the roster. And the Royals are down to the Yankees 1-0. That game goes tonight. The other 2 series and the NL side are both tied 1-1. They're best of 5s. And Dodgers-Padres is getting spicy.
Well, the Mets lost.
Mets lost to the Phillies. It's 1-1.
I thought they were up 6-2 going into the 9th.
We're up 6-5 going into the 9th, I think. And the Phillies pulled off a big comeback, yeah.
The other thing in the other sports report, how about that Sunday nighter yesterday?
Delayed by lightning?
Dak Prescott became the first player in NFL history to throw a pick in the same game on 2 different days.
Because it went after midnight.
It went after midnight. The game didn't end till like 12:30 Eastern time.
That is wild.
Like, do you know what? The second half was relatively exciting. The first half was an absolute snooze fest. But like, God, imagine if that was that Thursday night game that we got, and that was the one that got delayed. Obviously, it wasn't because it's a dome, but like, if somehow that was the same kind of game and it went to overtime, just a thrill of it. Instead, we got 2 teams that can barely throw a pass, never mind a touchdown.
Do you guys think Justin Fields is good?
He might be all right.
No,
I do, but I always get in this
know.
argument. I could understand why you wouldn't.
He's coached by that Smith fella, isn't he? What's his first name? Arthur Smith. I could throw a better offense together than him. Am I right?
Okay, that's a wrap on today's edition of the show. We are back to 5 days a week. So find us wherever you get your podcast from. Watch the show live every day at noon right here on the Oilers Nation YouTube. Tell a friend about us.
Yeah.
Think how cool it would be if at the end of a show you had a friend you could text and be like, hey, the guys were pretty bad today. Huh?
Boy, oh boy, that show dragged 20 minutes longer than it should have.
Wednesday is Frank. Thursday is Ennis. Friday is Demers. Tomorrow is Stay Tuned. So that's what we got going on.
Could be you.
Listener, could be you. Remember, nationgear.ca. Get in on the party to Greta. Also, one last reminder, Nation Beer is coming.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Lavoie was claimed.
No. Well, yes, Lavoie was claimed. Nation Beer is coming. We're partnering up with Odd Company Brewing. And I pitched the idea to the higher-ups. I said, can we do a watch the game with Oilers Nation Everyday at Odd Company and celebrate the return of Nation Beer, the everyday lager? And they said, that's a great idea, Tyler.
They said that.
Yeah. Jay, straight up.
I heard him say it.
Yeah, Jay was like, that is such a good idea, Tyler. And then he applauded me for being so motivated.
That didn't happen.
Yeah. He said, you've been doing great work as of late, Tyler.
Is that right?
We'll talk in January.
Yeah, we'll talk in January. Anyways, Nation Beer's back. Enjoy the rest of your Monday, everybody. Hockey's officially back. We'll be back tomorrow at noon Mountain Time. Oil up.
Thank you for watching Oilers Nation Every Day. Hit the subscribe button to never miss a show. And for more, visit OilersNation.com.